Chapter 19, A Reunion with Family. Rine's journey back to Pallet Town was a quiet one, marked by long walks along forested paths and brief stops to observe wild Pokémon in their natural habitats. He found himself reflecting on his progress and the lessons he had learned, from the harsh battles of the Academy to the bonds he had forged with his Pokémon. As he neared the edge of town, familiar sights greeted him: the sprawling fields where he had once trained with Stardust as a young Axu, the small pond where he had played with Nebula, and the narrow dirt roads that wound through the quiet, peaceful village. Pallet Town hadn't changed much in the years he had been away, and that sense of timelessness brought a warm comfort to his heart. "Home," he murmured, a faint smile touching his lips. Rine's family home was a modest house on the outskirts of town, surrounded by a small garden where his mother, Lila, grew berries and herbs. As he approached, the scent of freshly baked bread wafted through the air, making his stomach rumble. He hadn't realized how much he had missed his mother's cooking. The door opened before he could knock, and Lila stood there, her auburn hair tied back in a loose braid, her face lighting up with joy. "Rine! Oh, you're finally here," she exclaimed, pulling him into a tight hug. "Hey, Mom," Rine said, laughing softly as Stardust rumbled a greeting beside him. Nebula and Squirtle peeked around his legs, curious about their surroundings. Lila stepped back, her eyes scanning his team with pride. "You've grown so much, and so have your Pokémon. Stardust looks incredible." "Thanks," Rine said, patting Stardust's neck affectionately. "We've been through a lot together." From the back of the house, a younger voice called out. "Rine! You're back!" Rine's younger brother, Aiden, darted into view, his dark hair tousled and his eyes wide with excitement. He carried a small Pokémon, a Pidgey, in his arms, its wings flapping as it chirped excitedly. "I caught this last week," Aiden said proudly, holding up the Pidgey for Rine to see. "Dad helped me." Rine crouched down, inspecting the little bird with a smile. "You did a great job, Aiden. Looks like it's healthy and happy." "Of course it is." Aiden beamed, his youthful enthusiasm contagious. Dinner that night was a hearty meal of roasted vegetables, steamed rice, and berry-glazed meat, a favorite from Rine's childhood. They sat around the table, sharing stories of their lives. "So, you're really going to take on the league challenge?" Lila asked, her tone a mix of pride and worry. Rine nodded, his expression determined. "Professor Maple suggested it, and I think it's the right step for me. The league challenge will push me to grow stronger and face challenges I've never encountered before." Lila sighed softly, brushing a strand of hair behind her ear. "Just promise me you'll be careful. The world can be dangerous, and, well, you know what happened with Amira." Chapter 19, The mention of Amira's name cast a brief shadow over the table. Rine's gaze dropped for a moment, but he lifted his head, his voice steady. "I'll be careful, Mom. I've learned a lot since then. And I'll make sure nothing like that happens again." The next morning, Rine spent time in his family's garden, helping his mother harvest berries and herbs. She packed several for his journey, including medicinal herbs and rare berries that would be useful in battle. Aiden followed him everywhere, asking endless questions about Stardust, Nebula, and Squirtle. "Do you think I'll get a Pokémon as strong as Stardust one day?" Aiden asked, his voice full of awe. Rine smiled, ruffling his brother's hair. "If you train hard and take care of your Pokémon, I'm sure you will." As the day wore on, Rine's father, Calvin, returned from the fields. A tall, sturdy man with a kind smile, Calvin greeted Rine with a firm handshake and a warm pat on the shoulder. "Proud of you, son," Calvin said simply. "The league challenge won't be easy, but I know you'll make us proud." "Thanks, Dad," Rine replied. When the time came to leave, the family gathered at the edge of town. The sun was setting, painting the sky in hues of orange and pink. Rine adjusted his pack, his team standing beside him, ready to embark on the next chapter of their journey. "Take care of yourself, Rine," Lila said, hugging him tightly one last time. "And don't forget to call when you can." "I will," Rine promised. Aiden tugged at his sleeve, holding out a small charm made of feathers and beads. "This is for luck," he said, his voice shy. Rine accepted it with a smile, tying it to his pack. "Thanks, Aiden. I'll carry it with me." As Rine turned to leave, his aura flared faintly, a spark of determination igniting within him. The path ahead was uncertain, filled with challenges and mysteries, but he was ready. With his team by his side and the lessons of his past to guide him, Rine took his first steps toward the League Challenge, the quiet town of Pallet disappearing behind him as the adventure began. As Rine left Pallet Town behind, the quiet village gave way to the untamed beauty of the Galaxy's wilderness. The winding dirt path was lined with dense foliage, and the chirps and rustles of wild Pokémon filled the air. Rine's team followed close behind, their excitement palpable. Stardust moved with a measured stride, its galaxy-like scales catching the sunlight, while Nebula darted through the air in playful loops. Squirtle trotted alongside, occasionally splashing in puddles from a recent rain. The day was peaceful, and Rine used the time to bond with his team. However, as the sun began to dip below the horizon, the atmosphere shifted. The sounds of the forest grew quieter, replaced by an eerie stillness. Rine had just finished setting up camp when a faint rustling caught his attention. He turned sharply, his aura flaring slightly as he scanned the treeline. From the shadows emerged a wild Pangoro, its size imposing and its expression wary but not overtly aggressive. Rine noticed that it was holding a small injured Pokémon, a Piku, in its arms. The tiny Pokémon was whimpering softly, its body covered in scratches. Nebula hissed, flaring its tail, but Rine raised a hand to calm it. "Easy, Nebula. I don't think it's here to fight." The Pangoro growled low, its eyes locked on Rine. Slowly, it placed the injured Piku on the ground and stepped back, keeping a close watch. "I see," Rine said softly, kneeling beside the Piku. He reached into his pack, pulling out a small vial of oran berry extract and a roll of bandages. "You're protecting it, aren't you?" The Pangoro didn't respond, but its tense posture relaxed slightly as Rine tended to the Piku. Nebula hovered nearby, its tail glowing faintly to provide light. After a few minutes, the Piku stirred, its eyes fluttering open. It let out a weak cry, and the Pangoro stepped closer, its expression softening. "There you go," Rine said, standing and stepping back to give the Pangoro space. "Take care of it." The Pangoro growled softly, a sound that Rine interpreted as gratitude, before picking up the Piku and disappearing into the forest. "Not every encounter has to be a battle," Rine said, turning to his team. Squirtle chirped in agreement, while Stardust let out a low rumble of approval. The next day, as Rine continued his journey, he encountered a familiar face. Standing on the path ahead was Marcus, a fellow graduate of the academy and a known rival. Marcus was leaning casually against a tree, his Houndoom at his side, its red-black fur glinting ominously in the sunlight. Well, Marcus said with a smirk, pushing off the tree and crossing his arms. "Look who finally decided to leave the safety of home." "Marcus," Rine said evenly, his tone guarded. "Still lugging that shiny Haxorus around, I see," Marcus continued, nodding toward Stardust. "Bet you think that special coloring makes it stronger, huh?" Rine's eyes narrowed, but he didn't rise to the bait. "What do you want, Marcus?" "A battle, of course," Marcus said, a gleam of challenge in his eyes. "Unless you're scared." Rine sighed but stepped forward, motioning for Nebula to take its position. "Fine. Let's get this over with." Marcus smirked and snapped his fingers. "Houndoom, you're up." The battle began with an explosive clash of moves. Houndoom's flamethrower scorched the ground, but Nebula darted through the flames with agility, countering with a well-timed aerial ace. The two exchanged blows, their trainers shouting commands with growing intensity. "Finish it with Dark Pulse," Marcus commanded. "Harden your aura, Nebula. Dodge and counter with Moonblast," Rine shouted. Nebula's body glowed faintly as it evaded the incoming attack, retaliating with a dazzling beam of energy that struck Houndoom squarely, knocking it back. The dark Pokémon growled but couldn't stand, signaling Rine's victory. Marcus scowled, recalling his Houndoom. "You got lucky," he muttered. "But don't think this is over. I'll be watching your every step." With that, Marcus turned and walked away, leaving Rine to reflect on the encounter. That evening, Rine sat by his campfire, staring into the flickering flames. Stardust lay nearby, its eyes half closed but alert, while Nebula perched on a low branch, watching the stars. "That battle was too close," Rine admitted, running a hand through his hair. "Marcus hasn't changed. He's still reckless, but his Houndoom is stronger than I expected." Squirtle nudged his side, chirping softly, and Rine smiled. "You're right. We've got a long way to go, but we'll get there. Together." As the fire crackled and the stars glittered overhead, the Viridian Wilds stretched before Rine, an untamed expanse between Pallet Town and Viridian City. The dense forest was alive with activity, Pidgey chirped from the treetops, Caterpie inched along tree trunks, and the distant cries of stronger wild Pokémon echoed through the underbrush. Rine walked cautiously along the worn path, his team by his side. Stardust led the way, its powerful frame cutting a path through the brush, while Nebula flitted above, keeping a watchful eye on the surroundings. Squirtle marched beside Rine, its tail swaying rhythmically. "Keep your guard up," Rine said. "The Viridian Wilds are unpredictable." The words had barely left his mouth when a rustling sound from the bushes made him freeze. He raised his hand, signaling his team to stop. "Keep your guard up," Rine said. "The Viridian Wilds are unpredictable." The words had barely left his mouth when a rustling sound from the bushes made him freeze. He raised his hand, signaling his team to stop. From the dense foliage emerged a small Shinx, its fur crackling faintly with electricity. It growled low, its golden eyes narrowed as it crouched defensively. Rine studied the Shinx carefully. Its fur was slightly singed, as if it had been in a fight. Small cuts and bruises covered its body, and it panted heavily, clearly exhausted. "It's hurt," Rine said softly, crouching to meet its gaze. Stardust growled, its claws flexing, but Rine raised a hand. "Easy, Stardust. We're not here to fight." The Shinx's growling subsided slightly, but it remained tense, its tail flicking with agitation. "Hey, it's okay," Rine said, pulling a small pouch from his bag. He carefully took out a piece of Pokémon-friendly jerky and placed it on the ground in front of him. "You're safe." The Shinx hesitated, its eyes darting between Rine and the food. Slowly, it crept forward, sniffing the air cautiously. Finally, it snatched the jerky, retreating a few steps before eating it ravenously. Before Rine could approach further, a low snarl came from the shadows. From behind a large tree, a wild primeape stormed into view, its eyes blazing with rage. It pounded its chest, bellowing a challenge as it locked eyes with the Shinx. "It must have been attacking the Shinx earlier," Rine said, standing and stepping between the primeape and the injured Pokémon. "Not on my watch." The primeape roared, charging forward. Stardust intercepted with dual chop. Stardust rushed to meet the attack, its claws glowing as it slashed at the primeape. The blows forced the wild Pokémon to skid backward, but it quickly retaliated with a powerful seismic toss, lifting Stardust and slamming it into the ground. "Stardust, shake it off. Use Dragon Pulse." With a low growl, Stardust unleashed a shimmering burst of energy, striking the primeape head-on. The wild Pokémon staggered but remained standing, its fury intensifying. Nebula, support with Moonblast. Nebula swooped down, its tail glowing as it fired a beam of pink energy. The attack hit the primate squarely, and with a final snarl, the wild Pokémon collapsed, defeated. As the primate retreated into the forest, Rine turned his attention back to the Shinx. It had watched the battle intently, its ears twitching as it took a cautious step forward. "You've been through a lot, haven't you?" Rine said gently, kneeling again. The Shinx tilted its head, its electric sparks dimming slightly. Rine reached into his bag and pulled out a small potion, spraying it over the Shinx's injuries. The Pokémon flinched but didn't resist, its eyes softening as the medicine took effect. "There you go," Rine said with a smile. "Feeling better?" The Shinx chirped softly, stepping closer to nuzzle Rine's hand. "I think you'd make a great addition to our team," Rine said, holding out a Pokeball. "What do you say?" The Shinx studied the ball for a moment before tapping it with its nose. With a flash of light, it disappeared into the ball, which clicked shut. "Welcome to the team," Rine said, standing. "I think I'll call you Volt." As Rine and his team continued through the Viridian wilds, Volt quickly bonded with the other Pokémon. Squirtle playfully chased Volt around the camp during breaks, while Nebula shared its perch with the electric cub. Stardust remained the team's silent protector, but it occasionally allowed Volt to ride on its back. That night, Rine sat by the campfire, watching as Volt curled up beside him, its fur crackling faintly with electric sparks. "We've come a long way," Rine said softly, glancing at his team. "And we've got a long way to go. But together, there's nothing we can't handle." Stardust let out a low rumble of agreement, and the rest of the team chirped and growled in unison. The path ahead was uncertain, but Rine felt ready for whatever challenges awaited. Chapter 20, Arrival in Viridian City. The towering trees of the Viridian wilds began to thin as Rine approached the outskirts of Viridian City. The soft rustling of leaves and calls of wild Pokémon were replaced by the distant hum of city life. As the path widened, the forest gave way to cobblestone streets, small shops, and homes with neatly trimmed gardens. Rine paused, taking a deep breath. This was the first city of his journey, and though it wasn't unfamiliar, it marked a turning point. His team gathered around him, each Pokémon alert and curious about the bustling environment. "Here we are," Rine said softly. "Viridian City." Squirtle chirped excitedly, running ahead to peer at a small fountain near the city square. Nebula hovered above, its tail glowing faintly as it took in the sights. Stardust stood tall, its gaze steady as it scanned the unfamiliar surroundings, while Volt padded cautiously at Rine's side, its fur crackling with faint sparks. The city square was lively, with vendors selling goods and trainers chatting about their latest battles. Rine stopped to browse a stall displaying berries and Pokémon treats. "Can I help you, young man?" the vendor asked, a kindly smile on her face. Rine nodded, picking up a bundle of citrus berries. "I'll take these." As he handed over payment, Volt sniffed at a jar of spicy poffins, its tail wagging slightly. Rine chuckled and bought a few for his team. After exploring the market, Rine made his way to the Pokémon Center, a tall, sleek building with its iconic red roof. Inside, the atmosphere was bright and welcoming, with trainers coming and going, their Pokémon in tow. "Hello. Welcome to the Pokémon Center," Nurse Joy said from behind the counter, her Chansey standing beside her. Rine smiled. "Hi. Could you check on my team?" "Of course," Nurse Joy replied, taking the Pokeballs Rine handed over. Stardust and Squirtle stayed out of their balls, watching curiously as Nurse Joy worked. While waiting, Rine noticed a bulletin board displaying trainer missions and quests. He walked over, scanning the notices. Some were simple, like delivering packages or finding lost items, while others involved battling troublesome Pokémon. "Interesting," Rine muttered. As Rine read the board, a voice spoke behind him. "Looking for some work?" He turned to see a girl about his age with short, spiky green hair and a confident smile. She wore a dark jacket with a Pokeball emblem stitched on the sleeve, and a Pikachu perched on her shoulder. "Something like that," Rine replied. "I'm Kara," the girl said, extending a hand. "You a new trainer?" "Rine," he replied, shaking her hand. "Sort of. Just graduated from the academy." "Ah, a fresh start," Kara said, grinning. "I've been out here for a couple of years now. If you're looking for missions, you might want to check the one about the wild Beedrill near Route 22. They've been causing trouble for travelers." "Thanks for the tip," Rine said. "No problem. I'm actually heading that way myself. How about a quick battle first? A little practice never hurts." Rine smirked. "You're on." The two trainers moved to a nearby battle area marked by chalk lines on the cobblestone. A small crowd of onlookers gathered, eager to watch the match. "I'll start with Volt," Rine said, letting the Shink step forward. Its fur bristled with excitement, sparks crackling as it faced Kara's Pikachu. "Let's see what you've got, then," Kara called. "Pikachu, use quick attack." The electric mouse dashed forward in a blur, striking Volt with a swift blow. Volt stumbled but quickly regained its footing. "Volt, counter with Spark," Rine commanded. Volt charged forward, its body crackling with electricity as it slammed into Pikachu. The attack sent Pikachu skidding back, but it shook itself off, its cheeks sparking. "Thunder Wave," Kara shouted. "Dodge it, Volt." Volt leapt to the side, narrowly avoiding the paralyzing attack. "Finish it with Bite," Rine called. Volt lunged, its fangs glowing faintly as it clamped onto Pikachu. The mouse Pokémon yelped and staggered, unable to continue. "Well done," Kara said, recalling her Pikachu with a smile. "You've got talent, Rine." "Thanks," Rine said, scratching Volt behind the ears. "You're not bad yourself." After the battle, Kara walked with Rine back to the bulletin board. "You should definitely take that Beedrill mission," she said. "I'll be heading there tomorrow morning if you want to team up." Rine considered it for a moment before nodding. "Sounds like a plan." "Great," Kara said, her smile widening. "Meet me at the city gates at sunrise." With a new goal in mind, Rine returned to the Pokémon Center to collect his team. As he prepared for the mission ahead, he couldn't shake the feeling that his journey was truly beginning. The challenges of the wilds had been tough, but the bonds he had with his team, and the allies he was beginning to make, would see him through. At sunrise, Rine stood at the city gates, the golden light casting long shadows over the cobblestone streets. His team was ready, Stardust stood alert beside him, Nebula hovered overhead, Squirtle stretched lazily, and Volt paced, sparks crackling faintly along its fur. True to her word, Kara arrived shortly after, her confident stride matched by the playful energy of her Pikachu darting beside her. She carried a compact, black satchel slung over her shoulder, which jingled faintly with potions and other supplies. "Morning, Rine," she greeted, adjusting her jacket. "Hope you're ready. The wild Beedrill around Route 22 have been causing a mess lately. A few trainers have already been stung trying to clear the area." "I'm ready," Rine said, his voice steady. He glanced at her Pikachu and smirked. "Volt's excited to go another round if you need a warm-up." Kara laughed. "Tempting, but we'll save our strength for the mission." The trek to the Beedrill territory wasn't far, but the atmosphere quickly changed as they left the safety of Viridian City. The air grew tense, the buzzing of wings faint but unmistakable. "We're close," Kara said, pulling out a map. "The reports said the Beedrill hive is in the eastern grove, near the riverbank. They've been swarming anyone who gets too close." As they approached, the buzzing grew louder, and the tall grass began to shake. Kara held out an arm, signaling Rine to stop. "There," she whispered, nodding toward a nearby tree where a group of Kakuna clung to the trunk, their hard shells glinting in the sunlight. The hive must be close. Before Rine could respond, a pair of beedrill shot out of the foliage, their stingers gleaming dangerously. "Here we go!" Kara shouted. "Pikachu, Thunderbolt!" Pikachu leapt forward, unleashing a powerful bolt of electricity that struck one of the beedrill, sending it spiraling to the ground. "Volt, Spark!" Rine commanded. Volt charged the second beedrill, its body crackling with electricity. The attack connected, but the beedrill retaliated with Twineedle, striking Volt and forcing it to back off. "Stardust, support Volt with Dragon Pulse," Rine added. Stardust roared, firing a shimmering blast of energy that hit the beedrill, knocking it out of the air. The two wild Pokémon retreated into the trees, their buzzing growing distant. "That's just the vanguard," Kara said, her tone serious. "The hive's deeper in." As they pressed forward, the grove opened into a clearing where the massive beedrill hive hung from an ancient oak tree. The air was thick with buzzing, and dozens of beedrill swarmed the area, their sharp stingers glinting ominously. "Good idea," Kara said. "But getting close to that hive won't be easy." As if on cue, a particularly large beedrill, its stingers longer and glowing faintly green, emerged from the hive, flanked by two smaller drones. "That must be the queen," Rine said. "She looks nasty," Kara muttered. "Let's take her down." The queen buzzed menacingly before diving toward them, her drones following close behind. "Pikachu, Thunder Wave!" Kara shouted. Pikachu unleashed a burst of electrical energy, paralyzing one of the drones and causing it to crash to the ground. "Stardust, Dual Chop!" Rine commanded. Stardust leapt forward, its claws glowing as it slashed at the second drone. The attack struck true, sending the beedrill spiraling into the grass. The queen hissed, its stingers glowing with a sickly green light as it used toxic spikes, scattering poisonous barbs across the battlefield. "Watch your footing," Kara warned. "Pikachu, Iron Tail!" Pikachu's tail gleamed silver as it struck the queen, but the attack only seemed to enrage her. She retaliated with Fell Stinger, knocking Pikachu back. "Volt, support with Spark!" Rine called. Volt charged forward, its body crackling with electricity as it struck the queen head-on. The attack landed, but the queen countered with Poison Jab, striking Volt and sending it rolling back. "We're wearing her down," Kara shouted. "Pikachu, finish it with Thunderbolt." "Stardust, Dragon Pulse," Rine added. The combined attacks struck the queen simultaneously, creating a burst of energy that sent her crashing to the ground. She buzzed weakly before retreating into the hive, her drones following suit. The grove grew quiet as the beedrill swarm dispersed, retreating deeper into the wilds. Rine and Kara stood together, catching their breath. "We did it," Kara said, grinning. "That was some good teamwork." "Yeah," Rine agreed, patting Volt on the head. "You all did great." Volt chirped softly, its fur still sparking faintly, while Stardust rumbled in satisfaction. Pikachu leapt onto Kara's shoulder, chittering happily. "Let's report back to Viridian City," Kara said. "They'll want to know the hive's been cleared." Back in Viridian City, Rine and Kara reported their success to the local Pokémon Center, earning praise and a small reward for their efforts. As they left, Kara turned to Rine, her expression serious. "You're a good trainer, Rine. I don't say that lightly." "Thanks," Rine replied, smiling. "You're not so bad yourself." "Well, if you ever need a partner for another mission, you know where to find me," Kara said, grinning. Rine nodded. "I'll keep that in mind." As they parted ways, Rine felt a sense of accomplishment. The mission had tested him and his team, but it had also shown him the value of working with others. With his Pokémon by his side and new allies like Kara in his corner, he felt ready to face the challenges ahead. Rine spent the morning wandering Viridian's bustling market with Kara, browsing stalls selling rare berries, handcrafted items, and Pokeball modifications. "You ever use a quick ball?" Kara asked, holding one up for Rine to see. "Not yet," Rine admitted. "I've been sticking to the basics so far." "Quick balls are a lifesaver for catching fast Pokémon," Kara said, tossing it lightly in the air. "You should grab a couple. Never know when you'll need to catch something that bolts the moment it sees you." As they walked, they passed a group of younger trainers practicing battles. Kara stopped, crossing her arms as she watched them. "That was a good move, but you're leaving yourself wide open," she called out, pointing at one trainer's Rattata. "Try switching into something defensive when you see a stronger attack coming." The trainers exchanged nervous glances before one of them asked, "Are you Kara Maris?" "The one and only," Kara said with a grin. "Keep practicing. I want to see tighter strategies next time." Rine raised an eyebrow as they continued walking. "You're kind of a celebrity around here, huh?" "Something like that," Kara said, her tone nonchalant. "It comes with being a gym leader." Rine stopped in his tracks. "Wait, you're a gym leader?" "Minor gym leader," Kara clarified. "Viridian's mixed gym. I don't run the flashy battles like the major gyms, but I help trainers prepare for them." She smirked. "What, you didn't notice the badge on my jacket?" Rine glanced at her jacket, spotting a small emblem shaped like a Pokeball divided into 4 quadrants. "Guess I missed that." The next day, Rine and Kara took on a mission to locate a missing Clefairy reported by a local trainer. The trail led them to a small clearing near the Viridian River, where they found the Clefairy surrounded by a group of wild Raticate. The aggressive Pokémon growled and snapped their teeth, clearly staking a claim on the frightened Clefairy. "Stardust, let's clear them out. Use Dragon Pulse." "Pikachu, Thunderbolt," Kara commanded. The combined attacks scattered the Raticate, who scurried into the underbrush with angry squeals. Kara crouched to coax the Clefairy forward, her tone soft and reassuring. "You're safe now," she said, offering the Clefairy a Lum Berry. "Let's get you back home." As they returned the Clefairy to its trainer, the young boy burst into tears of gratitude. "Thank you so much." "No problem," Kara said, ruffling his hair. "Take better care of it next time, okay?" On their third day, Rine and Kara tackled a mission involving a swarm of Pidgeotto that had taken over a farmer's berry field. "These things can get territorial fast," Kara explained as they approached the field. "We'll need to be careful not to provoke the whole swarm." The battle was chaotic but controlled. Kara's Fletchinder used Flame Charge to drive the Pidgeotto away from the crops, while Rine's Volt used Spark to fend off stragglers. "That's the last of them," Rine said, watchin'. Over the 3 days, Rine and Kara developed an easy camaraderie. Kara's blunt confidence balanced Rine's measured approach, and their shared determination to protect and support Pokémon deepened their mutual respect. "So, what's your goal, Rine?" Kara asked one evening as they rested near the Pokémon Center. "To take on the League Challenge," Rine said. "And maybe figure out what I want beyond that." Kara nodded thoughtfully. "Good goal. Just remember, the League is about more than winning battles. It's about the connections you make along the way." Rine smiled faintly. "You sound like a professor." "Don't let it go to your head," Kara said with a laugh. "But seriously, you've got potential. Keep at it." With a few successful missions under his belt and a growing friendship with Kara, Rine felt more prepared than ever to face the challenges ahead. After completing their third mission, Rine and Kara returned to Viridian City just as the sun began to set. The town had a warm glow in the evening light, its streets alive with the chatter of trainers and townsfolk. As they walked toward the Pokémon Center, Kara glanced at Rine, a small smirk on her face. "You've handled yourself well these past few days," she said. "You've got more skill than most fresh graduates I've met." "Thanks," Rine replied, rubbing the back of his neck. "It's been good having someone experienced to work with." Kara raised an eyebrow. "Experienced, huh? Flattery will get you nowhere, Rine." She stopped walking and turned to face him, her expression growing serious. "Listen, before you head out of Viridian, there's something you need to do." "What's that?" Rine asked. Kara crossed her arms, her confident smirk returning. "Challenge me. I'm the leader of Viridian's minor gym." Rine blinked in surprise. "You're serious?" "Dead serious," Kara said. "The league challenge isn't just about the big gyms. The 15 minor gyms are there to test trainers in different ways, different battle styles, strategies, and even environments. You're planning on challenging them all, right?" Rine nodded. "That's the plan. All 16 minor gyms and the top 8 major gyms." Kara's grin widened. "Good. Then I'll be your first test. Come by tomorrow, and we'll see what you're made of." That evening, Rine spent time at the Pokémon Center preparing for his first gym battle. Nurse Joy smiled warmly as she returned his healed Pokémon. "Your team is in great shape," she said. "You've done a wonderful job raising them." "Thanks," Rine replied. "They've been through a lot these past few days." As he sat in the lounge area, another young trainer approached him. The boy looked to be about 12, with a shy demeanor and a Pokeball clutched tightly in his hand. "Excuse me," the boy said hesitantly. "Are you a league challenger?" Rine nodded. "Yeah, I'm starting my journey." The boy's eyes lit up. "That's so cool. I just got my first Pokémon, a Charmander." "Congrats," Rine said, smiling. "Take good care of it, and it'll take care of you." The boy grinned and hurried back to his parents, who gave Rine a thankful nod. The next morning, Rine visited the local Poke Mart to stock up on supplies. The shelves were lined with everything from basic Pokeballs to specialized items like quick balls and net balls. "Need help finding anything?" the clerk asked, a cheerful tone in her voice. "I'm looking to stock up for a gym challenge," Rine said. The clerk nodded knowingly. "Ah, heading to Kara's gym, huh? She's tough for a minor leader, but fair. You'll need to be ready for anything, her team's all about speed and strategy." Rine picked out several items, including a few potions, paralyze heals, and a set of specialized Pokeballs. As he paid, the clerk smiled. "Good luck. We'll be rooting for you." Later, Rine found a bench near the fountain in the town square and unfolded his map of the Viridian Forest. The greater forest area was vast, with several winding paths and hidden clearings. "So, this is the way to Pewter City," he muttered, tracing the route with his finger. Kara approached, carrying a drink from a nearby stall. "Studying up?" "Yeah," Rine replied, glancing at her. "The forest looks massive." "It is," Kara said, sitting beside him. "But it's worth exploring. There are rare Pokémon and unique sights in there if you're willing to look. Just be careful, it's easy to get turned around if you're not paying attention." "I'll keep that in mind," Rine said. "Oh, and one more thing," Kara added, leaning back. "You can challenge my gym here in Viridian, but you won't be able to face the primary gym yet. That one has a badge requirement. You'll have to start with Pewter City's major gym." "Got it," Rine said. "I'll come back for the primary gym after I've earned the required badges." "Good plan," Kara said, finishing her drink. "But first, you've got to get through me." Later that day, Rine stopped by the local police station, curious about the league missions posted there. A young officer Jenny greeted him as he entered. "Welcome. Are you here about the mission board?" she asked. "Yeah," Rine replied. I've been doing a few missions with Kara Maris, and I'm looking for more work before I head out of town. Jenny's eyes lit up. You've been working with Kara? She's one of our best trainers. Her gym focuses on teaching new trainers how to think strategically, and she's always helping us with tough cases. She's been a great partner on the missions we've done, Rine said. Well, if you're looking for something challenging, we've had reports of increased Rattata activity near the western fields, Jenny said, pointing to the board. It's not a huge problem yet, but it could become one if left unchecked. I'll look into it, Rine said. Thanks for helping out, Jenny said, smiling. And good luck with your league challenge. As the sun set, Rine returned to the Pokémon Center, where Kara was waiting for him in the lobby. Ready for tomorrow? She asked, her tone teasing. Always, Rine replied with a grin. Kara smirked. Good. Don't hold back, I'll know if you're not giving it your all. I wouldn't dream of it, Rine said. As he settled in for the night, Rine felt a mix of anticipation and determination. His first gym battle was just hours away, and he was ready to prove himself, not just to Kara, but to himself and his team. The morning sun filtered through the Pokémon Center's windows, waking Rine with its soft light. His team was already stirring, Stardust stretched its powerful limbs, Nebula flitted around the room, Squirtle yawned and splashed some water from a nearby dish, and Volt pawed at the ground, eager to move. Rine sat up, taking a moment to collect his thoughts. Today was his first gym battle, his first real test as a trainer. All right, everyone, he said, standing and addressing his team. We've been through a lot already, but this is just the beginning. Let's make today count. The Pokémon responded with determined cries, their energy lifting Rine's spirits. Before heading to the gym, Rine decided to make one last stop at the market. The stalls were lively with chatter, trainers and townsfolk alike bustling about. He approached a vendor selling battle items and supplies. Morning, the vendor greeted. You look like you're gearing up for something big. I've got a gym battle today, Rine said, scanning the selection. Ah, Kara's gym? The vendor asked. She's a tough one, even for a minor leader. Focuses on speed and strategy, right? Rine nodded. Yeah. Any tips? Well, she likes to keep her opponents on their toes. Make sure your team can handle quick hits and sudden changes in tempo, the vendor said, handing him AX speed and AX defense. These might help in a pinch. And stock up on healing items, you'll need them. Rine thanked the vendor and purchased a few extra potions, antidotes, and paralyze heals, just in case. Kara's gym was located in a modest building near the edge of town. The exterior was simple, but inside, the battle arena was meticulously maintained. Rine stepped in, noting the sleek flooring and the faint hum of automated systems designed to mimic different terrains. This place is impressive, Rine muttered as he studied the layout. Kara entered from a side door, her Pikachu perched on her shoulder. She smirked as she approached. Checking out the battlefield, huh? Smart move, she said. This setup lets me adjust the terrain to suit my team. Speed, strategy, adaptability, that's what this gym is about. What kind of terrain are we talking about? Rine asked. Kara crossed her arms, her expression teasing. Now, that would be telling. You'll just have to see for yourself. Rine smirked. Fair enough. After leaving the gym, Rine found a quiet spot in the Viridian Park to review his team's strategy. Sitting under a sprawling oak tree, he released all his Pokémon and spread out his notes and supplies. Alright, here's the plan, he began, pointing at a hand-drawn chart. Kara's team focuses on speed and strategy, so we'll need to stay sharp. He turned to Volt. You're our speedster. Use Spark and Quick Attack to keep up with her Pikachu and Fletchinder. Be ready to counter their moves. Volt nodded, sparks crackling along its fur. Squirtle, you're our defensive anchor. Use Withdraw to boost your durability, and counter with Water Gun and Bite when you see an opening. Squirtle chirped, flexing its stubby arms. Nebula, your Moonblast will be crucial against her Poison-type Nidorina. Keep moving, and use your speed to stay out of range. Nebula spun playfully in the air, its tail glowing faintly. And Stardust, Rine said, turning to his strongest partner. You're our heavy hitter. Dragon Pulse and Dual Chop will give us the edge in tough spots. But don't overextend, Kara's smart, and she'll punish any mistakes. Stardust rumbled in approval, its sharp claws flexing as it nodded. As the day wore on, Rine returned to the Pokémon Center to relax and meet other trainers. The lounge area was bustling with activity, with trainers of all ages sharing stories and strategies. A girl with glasses and a timid demeanor approached him hesitantly. "Excuse me, are you battling Kara today?" "Yeah," Rine said, smiling. "Why?" "She's really tough," the girl said, clutching her Pokeball nervously. "I challenged her last week and barely managed to get through her Pikachu. She always seems to be one step ahead." "What's your strategy?" Rine asked, curious. "I didn't really have one," the girl admitted, her cheeks reddening. "I just kept attacking and hoping for the best." Rine chuckled. "That's a good way to learn, though. Sometimes trial and error is the best teacher." "Thanks," the girl said, smiling faintly. "Good luck. I'll be rooting for you." As Rine walked back toward the gym, he passed the local police station. Officer Jenny was standing outside, speaking with a few townsfolk. She spotted Rine and waved him over. "Heading to Kara's gym?" she asked. "Yeah," Rine said. "Got any advice?" Jenny grinned. "Don't underestimate her. Kara's gym may be labeled as minor, but her skill is anything but. She's earned the respect of every trainer in town." "I've noticed," Rine said with a laugh. Jenny's expression softened. "Win or lose, remember that it's all part of the journey. The league isn't just about collecting badges, it's about growing as a trainer and building bonds with your Pokémon." Rine nodded. "Thanks. I'll keep that in mind." That evening, Rine found himself back at the park, the city lights glowing softly in the distance. His team rested nearby, their forms illuminated by the faint moonlight. "You've all come so far," Rine said, his voice quiet but full of pride. "Tomorrow's a big step, but I know we can handle it." Stardust let out a low rumble, standing tall beside him, while Nebula perched on a branch overhead, its tail swinging lazily. Volt curled up at Rine's feet, its fur crackling faintly with static, and Squirtle splashed happily in a small fountain nearby. As the stars twinkled above, Rine felt a renewed sense of determination. His journey was just beginning, but with his team by his side, he was ready to face any challenge. As he reviewed his team, Rine felt a mix of excitement and trepidation. The journey so far had been challenging, but it had shaped him and his Pokémon in ways he hadn't fully realized until now. "I've seen what happens when I underestimate a battle," he thought, his mind flashing back to the losses and close calls he had endured. "But this time, we're prepared. We're stronger together." He thought about Kara's confidence and the way she spoke of the league challenge, not just as a test of strength, but as a journey of growth. "She sees something in me, something worth testing. I won't let her down." The stars above seemed to shine brighter, as if reflecting the bonds he had forged with his team. Rine took a deep breath, standing tall. "Tomorrow, we make our mark." After leaving the Pokémon Center, Rine decided to check the League shop, a sleek, modern building located near the city square. The League shop catered to trainers participating in the League Challenge, offering items, resources, and even Pokémon eggs in exchange for League contribution points, LCP, earned through missions and battles. As Rine entered, the automatic doors slid open with a soft hum, revealing shelves stocked with rare items and a digital board listing available Pokémon eggs. A clerk at the counter greeted him with a friendly smile. "Welcome to the League shop," the clerk said. "Here to check your contribution balance or browse our Pokémon egg selection?" "Both, actually," Rine replied, stepping up to the counter. The clerk nodded and directed him to a terminal. Rine tapped his League ID into the system, and his current LCP balance appeared on the screen, 250 League contribution points. "Not bad," Rine muttered. He selected the Pokémon egg menu, and a list of eggs available to trainers in the beginner rank bracket appeared on the screen. Each egg came with an incubator, ensuring proper care until the Pokémon hatched. The list included Azurill egg, normal/fairy, 100 LCP. Shinx egg, electric, 150 LCP. Growlithe egg, fire, 200 LCP. Happiny egg, normal, 150 LCP. Trapinch egg, ground, 200 LCP. Fletchling egg, normal/flying, 150 LCP. Esper egg, psychic, 200 LCP. Each egg displayed an image of its incubator, along with a brief description of the Pokémon's potential. Rine browsed the eggs thoughtfully. While having a new team member was tempting, he decided against making a purchase for now. "I'll save my points," he thought. "Better to focus on my current team and wait for a Pokémon that fits our strategy perfectly." "Thanks for the info," Rine said to the clerk. "Of course. Good luck with your League challenge," the clerk replied. Back at the Pokémon Center, Rine settled into bed, his mind still racing with thoughts of the upcoming gym battle. His team's strengths, Kara's potential strategies, and his own growing confidence swirled in his mind. "Tomorrow's a big day," he whispered to himself, closing his eyes. The next morning, Rine arrived at Kara's gym, his heart pounding with anticipation. The sleek battlefield inside shimmered faintly, the terrain system ready to shift as needed. The battle began under the watchful eyes of the referee and a handful of spectators in Kara's sleek gym. The terrain shimmered faintly, promising dynamic changes to test both trainers' adaptability. Rine stood at one end, his heart pounding with anticipation, while Kara, her ever-confident smirk in place, readied her Pokeball. "This is going to be fun," Kara called out. "Let's see if you've got what it takes to handle me." "Bring it on," Rine replied, his voice steady. The referee raised a flag. "This will be a 3-on-3 match. Substitutions are allowed for the challenger. The leader may only switch after a knockout. Begin." Round 1, Volt, Shinx, vs Pikachu. Kara's Pikachu leapt onto the field, sparks flying from its cheeks as it landed with a determined cry. Rine sent out Volt, his Shinx, whose fur bristled with energy. "Quick attack!" Kara shouted, starting the match aggressively. Pikachu darted forward, a blur of yellow light, and struck Volt before it could react. The force sent Volt skidding back, but the electric-type cub quickly recovered, shaking off the blow. "Volt, spark!" Rine commanded. Volt charged forward, its body surrounded by crackling electricity. It slammed into Pikachu, eliciting a sharp cry as Pikachu staggered backward, but it quickly retaliated with a thunder wave, releasing a paralyzing burst of electricity. Volt froze mid-step, its body sparking as the paralysis took hold. "Great opening, Pikachu. Now, Iron Tail," Kara said. Pikachu's tail gleamed silver as it spun and struck Volt squarely. The attack sent Volt tumbling, but the Shinx pushed itself back up, growling defiantly. "Don't give up, Volt. Use Bite," Rine called. Volt lunged forward, its jaws glowing faintly as it clamped down on Pikachu's side. Pikachu cried out and flinched, leaving it open to another attack. "Now, spark again." Volt powered through its paralysis, slamming into Pikachu with another burst of electricity. Pikachu collapsed to the ground, unable to continue. Pikachu is unable to battle, the referee announced. Kara returned her Pokémon with a smirk. Not bad, but let's see how you handle my next one. Round 2, Volt, Shinx, vs Nidorina. Kara sent out Nidorina, the poison-type's sharp eyes scanning the battlefield. Volt, return, Rine said, recalling his Shinx. He grabbed another Pokeball. Squirtle, you're up. Squirtle emerged onto the field, its sturdy frame contrasting with Nidorina's sleek, predatory stance. Nidorina, double kick. Kara shouted. Nidorina lunged forward, landing 2 sharp kicks against Squirtle's shell. Squirtle staggered but quickly recovered. Withdraw, then counter with water gun. Rine commanded. Squirtle retreated into its shell, reducing the damage of Nidorina's next double kick. It then popped out, firing a high-pressure stream of water that struck Nidorina, pushing it back. Poison sting. Kara called. Nidorina released a flurry of sharp, glowing needles, some of which struck Squirtle. Rine's heart sank as Squirtle winced, its movements sluggish, poisoned. Hang in there, Squirtle. Aqua Tail. Squirtle leapt into the air, its tail glowing blue as it slammed into Nidorina, dealing significant damage. Finish it with Bite. Rine shouted, seeing an opening. Squirtle lunged forward, clamping onto Nidorina's leg, but the poison type retaliated with another poison sting. Both Pokémon staggered and collapsed simultaneously. Nidorina and Squirtle are unable to battle, the referee declared. Rine returned Squirtle with a soft, good job, buddy, before reaching for his next Pokeball. Round 3, Stardust, Haxorus, vs Fletchinder. Kara's final Pokémon, Fletchinder, soared onto the battlefield, its wings blazing with fire. Rine's final choice was Stardust, his trusted Haxorus stepping forward with an intimidating growl, its shimmering galaxy-patterned scales reflecting the light from the arena. Looks like you saved your best for last, Kara said, her smirk returning. You could say that, Rine replied. But so did you. Let's see which of us comes out on top. Kara shouted. Fletchinder, flame charge. The bird streaked forward, cloaked in fire, its blazing aura boosting its speed. Stardust, dragon claw. Rine called. Stardust charged to meet the attack, its claws glowing with draconic energy. The two Pokémon collided midfield, flame charge crashing against Dragon Claw in a burst of fiery sparks and energy. Stardust skidded back slightly, but the attack barely fazed it. Fletchinder, agility. Kara commanded. The fire-slash-flying Pokémon zipped around the battlefield, its movements becoming a blur. Its boosted speed made it difficult for Stardust to track its path. Stay focused, Stardust, Rine said, his aura flaring faintly as he concentrated. Wait for an opening, then use Rock Slide. Stardust roared, slamming its claws into the ground and summoning a cascade of jagged boulders that crashed toward Fletchinder. The bird weaved through the attack with its enhanced speed, avoiding most of the rocks, but Stardust unleashed a shimmering beam of energy, the draconic blast striking Fletchinder mid-air. The bird cried out, spiraling but managing to regain its flight with a burst of determination. Nice try, but we're not done yet. Kara shouted. Fletchinder, flame charge, one more time. The blazing bird charged forward, its speed almost impossible to track. Counter it with outrage. Rine yelled. Stardust roared ferociously, its eyes glowing with primal energy as it charged headlong into the oncoming flame charge. The two Pokémon clashed in a dazzling explosion of fire and draconic energy, both forced backward by the impact. Fletchinder staggered mid-air, its wings struggling to keep it aloft. Stardust, still fueled by the chaotic power of outrage, roared again, slamming its tail into the ground as it prepared to strike once more. Fletchinder, quick attack. Kara commanded desperately. The bird darted forward with its last ounce of strength, striking Stardust in a final bid to turn the tide. Stardust barely flinched, its draconic resilience holding strong. "Finish it, Stardust." "Iron Tail," Rine called. Stardust's tail glowed with a metallic sheen as it swung upward in a powerful arc, striking Fletchinder squarely. The bird let out a final cry before crashing to the ground, fainted. The referee raised their flag. "The challenger, Rine, is the winner." Rine exhaled, his heart pounding as Stardust let out a triumphant roar, standing tall amidst the aftermath of the intense battle. Kara approached with a smile, holding out the tactic badge. "I've gotta admit, Rine, that was impressive. Stardust is a force to be reckoned with." "Thanks," Rine said, accepting the badge and glancing at his team. "You pushed us to the limit." "You've got what it takes to go far," Kara said, her tone shifting to one of respect. "But remember, every gym will test you in a new way. Keep your mind sharp, and don't let your guard down." Rine nodded, his thoughts already turning to the challenges ahead. "I'll keep that in mind." As he stepped out of the gym, the badge secured in his case and his team gathered around him, Rine felt a renewed sense of purpose. This victory had been hard-earned, and it only strengthened his resolve to conquer the league challenge ahead. The glow of victory had barely begun to fade as Rine walked back to the Pokémon Center with his team. Stardust strode proudly by his side, its shimmering galaxy-patterned scales catching the light of the setting sun. Volt limped slightly, its energy drained but still buzzing faintly with determination, while Squirtle rested in its Pokeball, needing time to recover from its hard-fought tie against Nidorina. Rine entered the Pokémon Center, greeted by Nurse Joy's familiar warm smile. "You look like you've had quite the battle," she said, her tone kind but observant. "You could say that," Rine replied, handing over his Pokeballs and gesturing for Stardust and Volt to follow Nurse Joy to the treatment area. "It'll take some time to get them back to full strength," she said. "You should take a moment to rest, too." Rine nodded, finding a quiet spot in the lounge area. As he sank into the cushioned seat, he let out a long sigh, the adrenaline of the battle finally fading. Rine's mind replayed the gym battle, analyzing every move, every strategy. Volt held its own against Pikachu, despite the paralysis, and Squirtle proved its resilience against Nidorina, even if it was a tie. But Stardust was incredible. He couldn't help but smile as he thought about his Haxorus's performance. The way it met Fletchinder's speed and power with sheer determination and raw strength was awe-inspiring. Outrage was a risk, Rine muttered to himself, but it paid off. Stardust's ability to push through and finish the battle was what won it for us. An hour later, Nurse Joy returned, her Chansey carrying a tray with Rine's Pokeballs and Volt resting comfortably in a portable recovery unit. "Your Pokémon are fully healed," she said. "But they're still recovering mentally from the battle. It was intense, wasn't it?" "Yeah," Rine said softly, taking the Pokeballs. "Thanks, Nurse Joy." He released Stardust from its Pokeball, the Haxorus appearing in a flash of light. It looked around, rumbling softly before meeting Rine's eyes. "You were amazing out there," Rine said, placing a hand on Stardust's neck. "You carried us through that battle. I couldn't have asked for more." Stardust rumbled again, lowering its head slightly, a sign of acknowledgement and pride. "We'll need to keep pushing ourselves," Rine continued. "Kara said the gyms only get tougher from here, and I believe her." Stardust let out a low growl, its determination mirroring Rine's own. After ensuring Stardust was comfortable, Rine turned his attention to Volt. The Shinx lay curled up in the portable recovery unit, its fur glowing faintly with residual sparks. "You did great, Volt," Rine said, crouching beside it. "Pikachu was tough, but you held your ground. And that spark, it was perfect." Volt opened one eye, letting out a faint chirp before curling back into itself. "You deserve a good rest," Rine said, gently patting its head. That evening, Rine found a quiet spot in the Pokémon Center's training courtyard. The night sky was clear, stars twinkling like the cosmic patterns on stardust scales. He released his team, letting them stretch and play under the cool night air. Squirtle splashed in a nearby fountain, Volt wandered the grass, and Stardust stood tall, scanning the horizon. "You're all incredible," Rine said, his voice carrying a mix of pride and gratitude. "We've come so far since Pallet Town. And today, you showed just how strong we've become." Squirtle chirped, splashing water toward Volt, who responded with a playful spark of electricity. Stardust watched them with a faint rumble of amusement. "But we can't stop here," Rine continued, his tone growing serious. "Today was a victory, but it was hard-earned. Kara's gym pushed us to our limits, and the major gyms will be even tougher." Stardust growled softly, nodding in agreement, while Volt perked up, its tail twitching. "We'll need to train harder, grow stronger," Rine said. "Not just for the badges, but for each other. For this team." His words seemed to resonate with his Pokémon. Squirtle clapped its small hands, Volt let out an excited chirp, and Stardust roared softly, its galaxy-like scales glowing faintly under the starlight. As the night wore on, Rine leaned back against the fountain, watching his team. His thoughts drifted to the road ahead, Pewter City, the major gym challenges, and the mysteries surrounding the league. "Whatever comes next," he said softly, "we'll face it together." His team gathered around him, their presence a comforting reminder of the bond they shared. Rine closed his eyes, letting the sound of their quiet movements and the soft rustle of the night soothe his tired mind. Tomorrow, the journey would continue, but tonight, they would rest, stronger than ever and ready for the challenges to come.